Give me a minute, and I'm going to share with you how to stay up in a down market. You know, when the market's down, so can your attitude be. It's people are fighting the good fight to try to buy a house. 40 years old is the average first-time buyer. It's tough times out there in the real estate market. So how do you stay up? Well, I've had a formula for a long, long time for myself that I've taught to millions of people. And it's intake, associations, and affirmations. What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are you spending your time with? And what do you say to yourself and others? I'm in my assistant's office, and this is one of the libraries we have. People write me letters all the time, and I'll prescribe a book. You'll see there's many copies of the same book. Why? Because I know to help somebody who's maybe stuck or struggling, I send them a letter and I send them a book. Why? Because the intake changes everything. So join me today as I help you get up in a down market. So in today's blueprint, I'm going to cover how to stay up in a down market. You know, when my kids were young, we had a whole house audio system. It started with cassettes and then moved to CDs. You might have to Google what a CD is. Here's the deal. We would play positive, motivational content in our house every day. Our favorite recording of all time was Zig Ziglar's How to Raise Positive Kids in a Negative World. It's a great honor. This October, I'll be speaking at Zig's 100th year birthday anniversary out at Dave Ramsey's facility in Tennessee. One of the reasons I'm going there is because the impact he made not just on me, but on my family. We played that stuff in our home every day. You know what happened? I have 6 positive kids, and the world's become increasingly negative. I've been in the real estate business for 40 years, and the last 3 years has been the hardest years I've seen for real estate agents. Not consumers, but for agents. And that's why it's not on the news. And that's why nobody really has any empathy for the real estate business right now. Give you context, we've sold 4 million homes last year. We'll sell about 4 million homes this year. That's the lowest number of sales since 1995, when there were 80 million less people living in the country. So all economics is supply and demand. We have 80 million more demand, and we have sales like 31 years ago. Give you context, in 2005 or 6, I need to verify this, it was 7.1 million. So we're 3 million less sales 20 years later. So for the average real estate agent, it's been a very tough time. The number of agents leaving the business is at an all-time high. It'll be somewhere between 250 and 300,000 agents leave the business this year. Now, where's all the motivational stuff and where's the blueprint? Well, just like with my kids, when people told me there was going to be the terrible twos, my kids didn't have the terrible twos. When people told me our teenagers were going to be snotty and not listen to their parents, didn't happen. And the reason is we raised positive kids in a negative world, and you can be a positive agent in a negative real estate market. Does that make sense? So there's 3 things. There's always 3 things at me. It's intake, associations, and affirmations. I've been teaching this for 35 years, and it works. So on the intake side, what are you putting in? We all know the phrase, I don't know if you know it, garbage in and garbage out. Yeah, everybody knows that, but nobody ever says what the opposite is. What's the opposite of garbage in, garbage out? Could it be good stuff in, good stuff out? So first thing we got to do is we got to go on defense. We got to tune out the negativity. You actually got to be intentional now in the world we live in today, in the social media world we live in today. You have to actually tune out the negativity. People are making fortunes by how they deliver negativity to the marketplace. If you're in real estate and you search online, you will see doom scrolling and horror stories everywhere. I was looking at houses for one of my kids in Tennessee, and one of the houses we looked in, the guy was an influencer. He makes forts in Walmart. He makes forts in Walmart, like he's 9 years old. He goes into Walmart, he gets boxes of products, and he hides behind them. And he's a YouTuber and we were looking at a $2.5 million house. He makes forts in Walmart. There are people who make a fortune doing really negative stuff, not just forts at Walmart. So we have to take out the negativity. We got to take inventory. Where do I spend my day? What am I putting in? What am I listening to? What am I watching? What am I reading? And then I have to intentionally create a positive environment. We've all heard, the algorithm. You have the algorithm. Nobody knows what an algorithm really is. We know that whatever we're looking at, we see a hell of a lot more of, right? So when I was looking at, moving out of California to Tennessee, and I searched that, dear God, it seemed like the entire state of California has left. In fact, I was shocked when I got off the plane, there was anybody still here. Because all you see all the time is, sure enough, people leaving because of the algorithm. An algorithm, by definition, listen, is simply a precise procedure for transforming inputs into outputs. So you're not a victim of your algorithm. Your algorithm on your phone will only give you what you search for. If you stay long and watch it, it's a procedure that takes your input and then gives it back to you as an output. You can control it. You can control it. And I'm going to say this, our phones are lousy outputs most of the time. If you want to stay up in a down market, you sure as heck can't be living on that. If I'm in the real estate business, I know my customers are watching this and they're negative. They're scared. They're nervous. Guess what? When somebody's nervous and scared, that's when a pro gets to shine. The second thing is associations. My late mother, we're in the Brian Buffini boardroom here at Buffini Companies where we're filming today. And she had all kinds of quotes of hers are all over the walls. Well, one of her phrases when I was growing up was, show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. Now, I hated that when I was a kid. I like that today. I like looking at my friends today going, I'm hanging out with this person and that person, this person. I'm doing okay. Show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. So I'm going to encourage you to do this little homework assignment in the blueprint. Make a list of people who tear you down and people who build you up. Who tears you down? And it doesn't, if they're family, well, you can't just cast them to the winds, which happens in this world today too much. But I'm not going to spend as much time with them. There's people who are toxic. You just can't spend as much time. Who builds you up? Who, when you see the number, you can't wait to talk to them? Who, when they pop by, you get a smile, you see a picture of them, you see a smile, get a smile on your face. I know it sounds ridiculously obvious, but it's not. You need to intentionally spend more time with the ones that build you up than the ones that tear you down. I believe more is caught than taught. You'll learn more from being with somebody and observing them than from anything you're going to hear and see. And then the last piece of this in associations is you need to find role models. Now, my role models were people like Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn. I went to their seminars. I bought their books. I bought their CDs. We all need to seek out these positive influences, and we need to seek out mentoring. We need to seek out coaching. One of my favorite quotes is from John Crosby, who said, mentoring is a brain to pick, an ear to listen to, and a push in the right direction. Who doesn't need that? Do you need someone to listen to you? A brain to pick, give me an idea. And what about a little push in the right direction? We all need what I call the necessary nudge. So intake, associations, and then the last part of the blueprint is called affirmations. The first thing with your affirmations is words have power to them. The most negative person in your life will always be you. That's the truth. You will say things to yourself that you will never allow anyone else to say. You'll say things about your body. You'll say things about your habits. You'll focus on your mistakes or the things that were embarrassing or where you messed up or what you didn't do. And you'll say these and you'll speak with no filter harshly to yourself. Do you know that our brain can't discern between sarcasm and truth? Well, a good friend of mine, one of my associations is Dr. Shad Helmstetter, who wrote a book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And I had Shad come out and speak many times at our company's conferences. Shad Helmstetter has helped more people lose weight, more women lose weight than Jenny Craig. And Jenny Craig built $1 billion business. Shad Helmstetter in his book basically said, talk to yourself differently. And people losing weight left, right, and center. Didn't change their diet, didn't change their exercise, changed how they talked about themselves. Now their habits did change later. What you say when you talk to yourself. It's a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. The next thing is to make sure you tame the tongue, especially with others, but also with ourselves. What do we say? And it's a lever. The scriptures talk about the tongue needing to be tamed like the way a bit is put in a horse's mouth. A little bit. My daughter's a national champion horse rider. She gets on these 1,500-pound horses, and she can direct them. Little old Anna. The tongue is that way. We got to tame the tongue. Put the good stuff in. Intake, association, and then affirmations. What do we say? And lastly, my exhortation in this blueprint is to be an encourager. Be a person who someone else sees your number and goes, oh, I can't wait to talk to Brian. Brian's going to have a good word for me. It doesn't matter what I have to say. Even if it's a difficult conversation, at the end of it, I'm going to be built up. You want to be an encourager. So intake, what are you putting in your mind? Associations, who you spend your time with. Affirmations, what are you saying to yourself and others? Do those 3 things, and you will absolutely stay up in the down market. That's today's blueprint.
Ask Buffini is a new AI-driven experience, partnership between Buffini and Bold Trail, where you can dive into the collective wisdom of Brian Buffini and Buffini & Company from the past 30 years, millions of coaching calls, hundreds of presentations, thousands of presentations?
Thousands, yeah.
Yeah. All packaged into one, and you can engage with it. That's Ask Buffini. It's coming soon. This is Ask Brian. My name is Ethan Butte, Chief Ambassador here at Buffini & Company. One of my primary missions is to collect and share stories, insights, and lessons from the wonderful clients and coaches in the Buffini & Company community. And here on Ask Brian, I get to ask you questions about things I learned in the blueprint.
Sure. This is the stuff you won't find in the AI.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and it's live and it's in the moment, and we get to explore related stories and ideas to bring that blueprint even more to life in ways that I personally find interesting. So it's a gift and a pleasure for me to be doing this.
Let's do it.
All right. So you mentioned that you've been in the business for 40 years, and the past 3 are the toughest you've seen for agents. Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear a few more reasons why that's the case. I mean, I think some of it's intuitive. You know, we've hit this kind of like, I don't know, it's not really a trough, but it sure as heck isn't a plateau on transactions around 4 million. What else is it that's going on right now that has you characterize it that way?
You know, I think one of the things that's difficult in life is when you're suffering and nobody knows you're suffering. Mm-hmm. So in the 2008 recession, which we entered into in 2007 as a coaching company, so we knew a year ahead of time that the big downturn was coming. Well, that went on for 4 years. So 2007 through 2011, it was murder. But everybody knew it was murder. I mean, they made movies about it, The Big Short. It was on everybody's news channel every night. There were foreclosures and bank failures, and it went all over the world. And the Bank of Iceland, which underwrote all the mortgages in Europe and all that stuff. The problem with this one, nobody knows it's happening except realtors. Mm-hmm. If you go on the news, the only news that's made is it's hard for a first-time buyer to buy. Most people have heard the story, first-time buyer is 40 years old. And that's kind of it. Mm-hmm. So what we have is, as people in the industry, we're feeling a pain and a strain that isn't being affirmed anywhere else, and we're not even sure it is that bad. So when I share with agents that this is the worst market for realtors in 100 years, they look at me like I have 3 heads. And now, it doesn't mean everybody's suffering. We'll talk about that, but because we have a lot of clients who are having their best year ever. But I think the hardest part is if the consumer doesn't know and the media is not promoting it, when you're sitting in front of a seller and sitting in front of a buyer, you have a lot of educating to do. I think the second part is, as an agent yourself, it feels so much worse than the circumstances say. And so it's a challenging time. Now, we have a record number of people leaving the industry right now. We also have a record number of people retiring from the industry right now. And that's what we're experiencing, because Buffini & Company has been around a long time, and our average client is with us 11 and a half years. Our nearest competitor, their average client stays with them less than a year. So we have naturally older clients, been with us a long time, who've done really well. And they're like, hey, this has been great. This market's kind of stinky. I have my 4 rental properties. I'm all paid off. Brian, love you. And I'm going to retire from real estate. And I get a letter like that every day right now.
Mm-hmm. 2 things I want to pick up on there. First, I just want to acknowledge that I love that you mentioned buyers and sellers and the education that needs to happen there. All they know is that a few years ago, which is probably now 5 years ago, their neighbor sold for a whole bunch of money. And now they don't necessarily recognize what's going on from a supply and demand issue. The thing I'd like to hear more on is, I've heard the same thing, that some agents are having their best year ever while it's one of the more challenging markets. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. What is different about those folks? Is it mindset? Is it consistency? What are the things that are helping people achieve in difficult circumstances?
Well, if you remember, the first time we met was when you had your own show, and you came to interview me as part of Buffini Coaching Live, which is coming up July 30th here. And but we also do this VIP kind of private session for the folks who attend in person. Mm-hmm. And we had a great time. And I'm like, I like this guy.
Yeah, it was super fun. I met so many of your some fellow team members and your family. It was great.
And we had 150 clients in the VIP session. And if you remember, we did a meet and greet the night before, and every person's coming up to me going, record year, things are great. And I'm like, after a while, I started asking more difficult questions because I know you're coming to see the man and you got to Pollyanna it. And I'm like, tell me exactly how you're doing. Well, I'm up 18%. My average sales price is up 12%, and my expenses are down 9%. I'm on pace to double my income. I'm on pace to, and I turned to my staff at the end of the meet and greet and I went, man, we need to get a piece of this at Buffini & Company. We need to get in that mode. The magic word we've preached, which is commonplace, is market share. When people are leaving the industry and the number of transactions are flat, your job is to increase your market share, which doesn't just help you now. When the market eventually does rebound, which will take a while, you will have taken more ground. So if you get a bigger piece, so let's say your community has 100,000 transactions and you've gone from 20 to 40, when that market goes to 1,500 transactions, you're naturally going to be at 60. So we have a lot of people doing very well because they've been working on the fundamentals for a long time. And the people who've tried all the different gizmos and fly-by-night shiny object systems, they're struggling, they're leaving the business. So our clients are naturally gaining more market share. And by the way, so are we as a coaching company, because we have a lot of flaky coaching companies. Every real estate company has some kind of flaky coaching approach. So Buffini companies that can actually taking more market share ourselves right now.
That's great. You mentioned, this is I have two things I want to ask you about that kind of fit in this mold of how to be present for people in a way that allows you to sustain and grow market share, even in the type of market that we're in. And the first one I want to go to, I'm going to kind of quote you back to yourself, which I think I'm going to be doing quite a bit on Ask Brian, because I want to ask you more about what you meant by that. And in this case, it's when people are scared, a pro can shine. That resonated with me right away. It stood out when I made a note of it. And I'd love to hear more on that.
Sure. Well, Warren Buffett used to say, when people get greedy, I get nervous. But when people get nervous, I get greedy. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is, right now, the market, we're coming off a super hot market. Natural skills and abilities of this industry evaporated. If you put a house on the market and you misprice the home, so there's a skill in pricing a home properly, one of the strongest parts of my career. Well, a lot of people would misprice a home, but the market was so hot, it would sell for more than they mispriced it for. Secondly, they put the home on the market, don't have a marketing strategy, don't have a plan in place, don't have a communication plan in place to their customer, and they get 11 offers after one open house weekend. And they go, we'll be selecting offers on Tuesday. Oh, by the way, we're not going to do a physical inspection. We're selling the house as is, and we expect you to close in 30 days. Okay, there's a certain skill to that, but that's not conventional real estate. Conventional real estate is the professional's approach to be able to set the expectations for a customer, be able to go through the protracted time. It is a pain in the arse to have your house on the market. Mm-hmm. You have to keep your house clean. People can come at a moment's notice. The kids and the cats have to be packed up. It's a pain in the arse to keep your house in order like that. And also it's a pain to live in a way that someone can pop by and you get some notice, but someone can be coming by at any time. It's not exactly you're going to sit around and slough around on the couch type thing.
And it becomes more obvious and more painful the longer the house is on the market.
Well, it takes a certain level of skill to prepare a client for that, not when you get 11 offers the first Tuesday after you did an open house. So, oh, by the way, you have to do that for 30 days. Or you have to do that for 60 days. Now you also have to start coming back to a customer and going, we tested the price. Here's what the market said. My recommendation is we need to adjust the price down. It takes a little bit of skill to do price adjustments. It takes a little bit of skill to bring a customer along that I'm still your advocate and I'm trying to do the best job for you. Oh, by the way, we sell the house in a funky market. That deal may fall apart. Now I have to remarket the property, start over, go through the adjustment period again and sell the house again. And then the transactions are tougher, the appraisals are tighter, the loan qualifications have become tighter again, and everybody's uptight and out of sight. And so the peak of my real estate career was in the early 90s. The average market time in San Diego was 7 months, not 7 days. So I wouldn't take a listing unless it was a 365-day listing. And I was carrying 50 listings at any one time. So all those skills evaporate. And if you don't use a skill, good luck. I mean, I was a pretty good golfer for a long time. and I come back to the golf course, and the problem is I have an expectation now I'm still a pretty good golfer. Well, it turns out not. If you don't use the skill, you lose it. And I would say across the board, the real estate industry had an 11-year run-up where you didn't have to be super skilled other than how to negotiate short-term offers and multiple offer situations. And now it's real-world real estate, and it's a pro's time to shine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a time to develop those skills in the case that you started in a window where you didn't need them, right? Like they weren't teaching them because we have limited attention of agents. We're teaching what needs to be, known in general, foundationally, and then what's appropriate for the current condition.
Right.
So here we are. So being an encourager was the other one I wanted to go to. This, people are willing to take your call if you're an encourager.
Right.
People are willing to talk to you if you're an encourager. People even seek you out as a rock or an anchor in a positive way. Talk about being an encourager, and specifically in the context of the blueprint of staying up in a down market. Like there's might be a tendency to like fake it till you make it. Like,
Sure.
Can you be an encourager all the time? Because everyone has tough days or tough spells.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. And sometimes you do have to fake it till you make it. Everybody has bad days. For me, I'm viewed as a motivational speaker. Well, I'm not motivated all the time, but I also have this. I think if there's one quote we have for our coaching staff, that is kind of like the quintessential definition of coaching. It's impossible to shine a light to someone else's path without lighting up your own. And encouragement is the giving of courage to another soul. That in itself is life-giving. If you take that positive attitude, and in a market like this, if you walk in, market's down, oil prices are up, we have the Iranians, we have the government, we have the whatever. There's always something going on in the world. And so you need to be positive. And I think if you're going to be a salesperson, you better be positive. Not a false positive, but be an encourager. And like when I would walk through somebody's house and I'd tour the house and I go, okay, this house is going to sell. That's the first thing I would say. This house is going to sell. Now, is the house going to sell? If we price it right and make available to show, this house is going to sell. But people would go, really? And I go, yeah, I'm going to tell you what it's going to take, but this house is going to sell. So we just need to be that encourager. Like when somebody's deal falls apart, it's like, hey, we're going to make this happen. I'm involved. One of my properties right now is 3 months longer in an escrow than it's supposed to be. And I'm encouraging everyone on all sides. And I'm a principal. And I've got this realtor and I've got that realtor and I've got the buyer and I'm keeping them all together. And sure enough, it looks like Friday it's going to happen. So there's just an encouragement will get you a lot further than discouragement. It also does this. When you give that encouragement, sometimes you come away encourage yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if your reputation becomes, at the end of the day, this person's relentlessly positive, relentlessly like strength positive, as opposed to I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, the Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah.
People want to be around that. I certainly find it. There's no short. I don't have any open days, as you know, Ethan. There's a lot of people asking for a breakfast, lunch, or whatever, or a phone call, or because I've made this my living for the past 30 years. So if you are actually willing to be an encourager, you'll find out not only does it impact all those around you, but it impacts yourself.
Yeah, really good. It reminds me of the idea of action following mood, not just mood following action. We think like we need to get psyched up to go for the run or something, but in fact, just getting out the door, going for the run will, turn it all around. Yeah. Last thing here, really quickly, you talk about Shad Helmstetter, and how we should be talking to ourselves. Just as like a quick add-on to the idea of, maybe I'm not always ready to be an encourager. I'm not in that mood or that zone or that mindset right now. Any tips from that book, which is one I haven't read, but now it's on my list?
It's on your list. He has a few phrases. So, we have phrases we say to ourselves like, I always, right? And he would change that to up till now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always late too. Up till now, I've been late frequently. And then he'd go, but from now on. So up till now, but from now on is a fantastic. Up till now, I spend more than I make, but from now on. Up till now, I eat more than I should, but from now on. Up till now, I don't sleep very well, but from now on. Eventually, the words become, the neural pathways in the brain, which is a physiological force They're like the freeway system in our brain. Sometimes those freeways are dusty, crusty, overgrown. Well, when we say those positive things, it does reprogram the brain. And so, we are what we repeatedly do. So I would say, up till now, from now on. And then another one he had is, that's just like me. He would go, that's not like me. So, a spouse, you always leave the cap off the toothpaste. And, that's just not like me. And eventually, initially they think you've lost your mind and you're on drugs of some sort. But I have done this repeatedly in my own life. That's just not like me. It's not like me to get mad on the golf course. Okay, so it's one I have to work at all the time.
Up till now, I got mad all the time.
Exactly, but from now on.
Yeah.
And so it's the language of hope. It's the language of renewal. And Shad Helms, it's a great book. It's a great read. You'll enjoy it. I've just made you want to read it.
Yeah.
But it's those simple things. And, that stuff's been around a long time. The modern world we live in regards to social and so on and so forth, it's the opposite. And that's why on the social side, you got to be careful where you go down the algorithms, because it can spiral your attitude negatively down. And so now you have what you say to yourself is what your phone is saying to you all day long. Mm-hmm. So I think we got to be very intentional, more now than ever before. I think Shad's book should sell more copies today than it did 30 years ago.
Yeah, I feel that way about so many things. This has been a pleasure. If you want to ask Buffini, you'll be able to do that soon on your phone. It's a healthy thing you can do on your phone, is talk to your CRM, engage with it, learn who you should be talking to today, figure out how to spend an afternoon next week by looking for your A pluses and your A's. And there's so many things you could do there. And I appreciate the opportunity to ask Brian right now. Let's go coach him up.
Hey, we're at Coach 'em Up Live. We're right here on location in Maui, the scene of our Peak Experience event this year. And we just had a pop-by from Wisconsin. Hey, Erin, tell them who you are and where you're from.
Hello, Erin Weber, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Lake Geneva, beautiful part of the world. I've told you about that many times, being up there.
Absolutely.
How long you been in the business?
22 years.
Great. How long you been with us?
14.
14 years.
Yeah.
You can't even remember the day without us. And what's your business look like today?
My business is amazing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it is because of Buffini and
great.
Doug, my coach.
Doug is the great.
Yeah.
How many transactions do you do a year approximately, would you say?
58.
58. She knows exactly. Forget approximate. And then do you have an assistant? Do you have any people?
I've been solo up until a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I have my assistant.
Finally. Thank you, Lord. Oh, my gosh. And now, by the way, you're able to enjoy Maui a little bit because you got a pro, right?
100%.
Great. So what's your question? What can I do for you today?
So I'm really excited. My daughter just got her real estate license.
What's her name?
Allie,
Great.
19. Wants to build her business independently.
Yeah.
And what is the best way I can support, help, and guide without overstepping?
Great. So 3 things to this. I often have 3 things. One is when I hear, hey, I want to build it independently, is I don't want mom when I was 14. And it's very hard because you just have to switch roles. I have 6 kids. And I've now, by the way, in the last 6 months, 4 of my kids have joined me in the business. I never intended that. So it's really important that you make the commitment to say, hey, Allie, you're joining me in the business. Great. Just so you know, business mom is going to show up. And when I'm at work, I'm not mom, I'm Erin. That's what people call me.
She's so sad.
That's great. And so see, so you have to reintroduce yourself and give her a chance to reintroduce herself.
Okay.
When she says, I want to build it independent of you, she wants to be her own woman. And how great is that? Mm-hmm. She wants to build it. And it's also, by the way, it's because she admires you.
Thank you.
You're the one she wants to walk in your footsteps, but she wants to make her own mark. What we don't want her to do is struggle unnecessarily. What we don't want her to do is to be a casualty of this business, which many people will be. So first things first. One of the greatest tools we ever built in this company was 30 years ago, I paid over $1 million to buy a profiling company, which started out as the Heritage Profile and now is Real Strengths. You have your Real Strengths.
Yes.
Has Allie had a Real Strengths profile?
She hasn't.
So that is step 1.
Okay.
Now you're going to arm Doug with this profile. And here's what Doug's going to do. He's going to have a session with you and Allie. And he's going to say, here's your strengths, Erin. Here's your strengths, Allie. And here was where you guys are designed to clash.
Okay.
And Doug now helps create boundaries with this. So number 1, we're going to get the profile. Number 2, we're going to read the book by Dr. Henry Cloud.
Okay.
He's been on my how many events I've had Henry Cloud on. He's a brilliant, one of my closest friends. 20 million people have read this book, Boundaries. And when she can listen to it, you can listen whatever way you consume it. So we're going to get the profile, then we're going to learn boundaries. Then the third thing is this. We're going to get her on her own path, 100 Days to Greatness, get her down the path with training her the right way so she has the independent voice. So I'm the guy that can tell her, and all of a sudden the stuff she's seen mom do, Brian with the Irish accent comes along and goes, oh, and she'll come home and say, Mom, you're not going to believe it. These personal notes are the way to go. And here we like, oh, Mom, do you know that referrals are the way to go? And here we like, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So we'll get her doing that. But then I want to get her to shadow you.
Okay.
And you're going to say, now here's the thing. When we go home, we're mom and daughter. When we're at work, I'm Aaron, you're Allie. And you can call me Aaron if you want. This would be weird. Okay? But you let her know I want you to do that.
Okay.
And you're going to show her the ropes. You're going to mentor them the way. You're going to take her on appointments. And then when you have leads that are not like, oh, Aaron, you've helped me buy 2 houses. You helped my daughter buy a house. Not that client.
Okay.
But maybe a sign call, maybe an ad call. Okay, Allie, here we go. You get a chance. And oh, by the way, you get to pay me a referral fee.
Okay.
But you're going to build up this business because you want to be a businesswoman. You're going to pay me a 20% referral fee. But I'm going to teach you how to turn that client into an advocate that sends you referrals for years and years the way I have mine. So she wants to be in business for herself, but not by herself.
Okay.
So profile is key. Doug will help.
Okay.
Boundaries, non-negotiable. And when she knows you're taking this type of care, she's like, hey, what's going on with Mom? Like, Mom is taking all this time to treat me like an adult and to have this appropriate separation. And then it's like, hey, come alongside. I'm going to hand you some of these leads. You're going to pay me for them. Which is like, hey, like, Mom, really? I know I want to be independent, but can you give me the whole lead? No. You can pay me a 20% referral fee. Okay. And I'm going to teach you how to turn every one of those leads into a walk and talk and billboard. That person's going to send you leads for the next 10 years. And I'm going to teach you the referral way. So you do that, you'll have grown your business and grown your daughter and another story to tell.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode on how to stay up in a down market. And I hope the Brian Buffini Show is a way for you to stay up in a down world. And here's what we would love you to do. We'd love you to share this show with a friend who also needs a little booster, perhaps to their business and their life. And also, would you do this? Would you like and subscribe the show? Boy, it really helps us out. And it also means that you get notified so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time on The Brian Buffini Show.